Hello from Clayton County Library, Riverdale Branch. This is Amanda. We are doing healing art, basic face, pencil art today, and I drew this little nice eye for you. So what you will need is, again, this is just poster board that you can get anywhere, and it does have the tooth on it, so it's kind of porous on one side. Not the slit kind, because we will be using pencils. Look at all these pencils. Get you a couple of different pencils. You want to make sure that they're sharp. And then I have a mechanical pencil. I don't usually draw with it too much, but I do use it for fine detail. So you can get it darker with the mechanical, and then it's also got the eraser. And I have this guy for the eraser too, because we'll need the erasers and our pencils, just regular number 2. Okay, and we have our poster board that I've cut into fourths, so it's 1/4 of a poster board. And I'm going to start drawing by doing the lines on my paper. I need to draw a couple lines to separate the paper into thirds. So however you measure that, you really just need to eyeball it. It doesn't have to be perfect. So this is kind of the middle. So we'll go like with this being 1/3, 2/3, 3/3. 1/3, 2/3, 3/3. Now we're just going to eyeball it and put another very faint line. You want these lines to be faint because you will be erasing most of them later. So these lines, we're going to put one in the center, coming down. All right, it doesn't have to be perfect. We're using these as guidelines. These are going to guide us on where we're going to put our other lines that we're going to keep. Okay, so after that is done, we have our center and our 1/3. We're going to start and put an oval or almost an upside down egg shape here. And that's going to be the start of our face. Now, faces come in different shapes, as you may know, and I do have a printout for you with some different shapes. So here we go. We have our oval shape, square shape, circle shape, triangle, heart, and then upside down triangle. So we're going to just focus on our oval because we're just doing the basics today, but you may want to think about this if you're drawing a particular person, because it really does matter about the shape of their face. So we're doing an oval face today. So we have our first line and our middle line that meets right in the middle of our oval. We're going to take that and come up a little bit and now separate our face into 6 different parts. So we have where our line was, our line that we just did, we're going to do another line. And now we're going to come down this way and do 2 more. So that gives us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces. Now I don't have to do it anymore, but what I used to do, and you can totally do, is lightly number your lines on the side so you don't get confused of where they are at. But we're going to go back and erase that, so just do that lightly. If you can just count them each time, it's whatever works for you. Okay, so now we're going to use this middle line, and we're going to do the same thing to space out some spaces for our face. So we're going to come and do a line on one side of the middle line going vertically down. There's our middle line, and we're going to do it on the other side. Okay, and one more. So now we almost have a little grid in our face. Okay, so here's line 3. That is where you want to do your eyes. Line 3. So we're going to go down to line 4 first and go to your center, and we're going to do a upwards V right there. That's just to mark where we're going to put the nose. And we're going to do the same thing on number 5. That's just to mark where we're going to put our lips. Now we're going to go back up to number 3 and we're going to do our eyes, starting on this first vertical line and meeting at the second. Come up and pull down. And we'll do the same thing on the opposite side. So the eyes are the only time where you need to mirror what's going on, because you don't want a big eye on the left side and then a small eye on the right side. So you want to make it as mirrored as possible. And we're going to come down and meet it like a little lemon shape right there. And we're going to change that a little bit eventually. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and take these off, these numbers. Done with them. Between line 2 and 5 on the outside, we're going to come like a C and make our little ears where they're going to be. Right now, we're just mapping everything out. We're going to come back in and do our fine detail later. And now we can pull down almost like opposite parentheses. Come down and do a neck. Pull it down to your third line. And then curve it and come down and we have our body shape right there. So now we're getting something concrete. Even though it looks kind of comical right now, we're going to make it look more realistic. So we're going to come back in and erase these grid lines, because now we basically know where our features are going to be, and we can work how we want our person to look. And so this formula works with almost anybody's face. Of course, you develop their features differently. Okay, so basically we got that all erased. Now from that V, we're going to focus on the nose. I'm going to come over and do 2 teardrops that are right on the side, very dark. That's going to be our nostrils. And then we're going to pull a little very loose U under there, and then some C's around the side. And there's our little nose starting to form. We're going to bring it back up. And the nose is a lot about shading. So I'm going to go back and erase that hard V, because that was just for me to make a place of where my nose starts. Now we're going to go back and do some deep shading just around the sides of our nose. And our little thing under our lip. There we go. Boom. Okay. So I'm going to erase this hard V. I know that's where I want my mouth. And now I can take it and make it a softer V and pull it down to where I know that line used to be. And pull it back up. And now we have the top lip. And on the bottom, we're not going to close the lip completely. We're going to elude a full nice lip by just going and shadowing underneath where it's still open on both sides. Okay? Now here's where you can change the shape of your face. So we started out with the oval, but you're like, do I really like it like that? Here's where my chin is. I can make that line really dark. And now I'm going to pull it up to where my ears are, and I can start developing little nuances of the face I want by seeing if I want a nice big cheek, a square chin. It could be a round chin. And now we have a little bit more development to our face, okay? I'm going to go under this lip and give it more shadow and pull it down very lightly. And it almost mirrors, but it gives that chin illusion right there. And then we're going to pull down some nice dark shadows under here. Now, did you see me just smudge that with my finger? I love to do that, but some people are like, ooh, don't smudge with your finger. So let me show you something really quick. You can just take a piece of paper and take it. And now you're just going to roll it up to where it has a tip to it. And this may be too much, so I can just take that off. Because if you were in art class and someone saw you smearing with your finger, they would be like, no, don't do that. But you can make yourself a smudger and just go back in and smudge where you want to with that. And so it's not your finger, it's a nice professional tool now. They actually sell these things and you can just make them out of paper. So there's our little smudger in case I want to go back and smudge. We are going to come and put some shadows, almost like a ball on this nose, but not completely finish the circle. So it's just shadow, shadow, shadow. And if you, the more shadow that you put on the nose, the more it looks like a nose and not just a glop of something in the center of your work. So you just want to do a lot of shadow. And we're going to pull that down. Let's give this person a little bit more nostril. There they go. They can breathe now. Okay. And I want these shadows on the side of the nose to be just as crisp as the nostrils, because that's going to make your nose look like it's coming out. All right. And this too, just a little shadow under there. The more intense that shadow is, the more it looks like it's coming out at you like it's a real nose. And now we're going to shadow under our eyes and shadow that around the eyes. We're going to come back and put some nice irises in there. Okay, I can see it starting to develop. Can you see? All right, let me take out. Make sure you got your lines nice and really erased before you start going in and really shadowing, because you don't want to see them through the shadows, because it doesn't look professional. Okay, so there we go. We've got that pretty good. So now I'm going to come back. Let's do the ears. Let's do the ears. So the ears are another thing, just like the eyes. I guess anything that's two, we need to kind of mirror. It's not as important as the eyes. The eyes, that's why I'm waiting to do that, because you really want the irises to be. So I'm going to take my ear and I'm going to pull in just the same shape right under it. And again on the other side. Okay, then we're going to come in almost like with this in, loose Z in, right off the side of the face. And then inside, we're going to do two lines coming down. And this little bit is full of shadow. This little bit is now full of shadow. Okay, and now we can come back in and we're going to develop some nuances. So like the lobe, we want it to maybe go in more. So we're going to take that off because we want it to look, the more detail you put in, the better it's going to look. So not everybody has it smooth. There. And the crazy thing too is I do these ears, and when we put hair on, we may cover these ears up. You just never know. But I like to go ahead and put the ears on because it helps with the balance. Okay. Let's go ahead and give her some eyebrows. So basically, just a little bit over from where your eye ends, and then right where your nose begins is where you want to end. So right here, and you want to mimic a very loose, same as this shape. Bam. Okay, but now we can go back and really work with that and give some thicker brow and kind of pull up almost like, yeah, you're drawing almost every little hair. Pull up, but go with the same line. And then of course thinner as you get out. And don't, feel free to move your paper around. Do you see how I do that? I love to move my paper around. It helps with my drawing, it helps with my painting. And sometimes I just like to see things differently to make sure I'm doing things okay. If I see it at a different angle, then I know. Okay, let's do her hairline. So we could give her a square hairline, kind of. And you never want to make the hairline at the top of the head. You want to go in some. And we'll do like a square, yes. Okay. Now we've got her hairline. And we're going to darken that. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and take these lines out because we don't need them. And you can go ahead and take the top of her head out because she's going to have some kind of hairstyle up there. All right. So right where our middle line meets, on our third line, I'm going to do a little very loose U. That's going to be the bottom of her throat. And then I'm going to kind of come down around the arm, and we'll make her arm come down. Now this is just to hold place. We'll go back and do more detail. Okay. And we could go ahead and put her on some kind of shirt. So we'll do a U just under our other U, all the way from one shoulder to the other. And then she can have her sleeve. And you kind of want to have it in the same place. So I can just pull my pencil across, but you, if you need to, you can draw that faint line. Because what? We got this eraser and we can go back and erase it. So we want that kind of in the same place. So we're going to go out. And now there's her shirt. Take those lines out now. Some lines you may, like I did that, you may make them darker thinking that they're going to stay. And that's why I do try until the very end to not make any dark lines unless I absolutely know, like I know that these are going to be dark. Because while you're composing your work, it changes with how you're going. So you may want something, make it dark, and then not want it later. Okay, so we're going to take that out. I think she's looking nice. What should we do for her hair? Let's see. We will put a little headband up here, I think. Let's put her a little headband on. Okay, and then I'm going to do like right there will be where her hair comes back down. We'll make her hair. Maybe she's got like, yeah, there we go. This kind of haircut going. And of course you could pull it down. We could do whatever we wanted to do. Once you get the shape, this is just the shape of her hair, then I'll show you, we're going to go back and we're actually going to make some hairs. So let's do her lips. So we're going to go back into her lips, and in the middle line, we're going to make it very dark because that's where her lips meet, and there will naturally be a shadow there. From there, we're going to pull out a shadow just a little bit out from that dark line, not all the way down to the bottom of her lip, because we want to keep that light, which makes it look like it's coming out. So also we're going to put some lines in her lips. So we're going to take from the top and come down, but not in a straight way. When we come down, we're going to be curved coming down. So we're coming down in a curve around. And then on the other side, we don't do this way. We go with the flow of our shapes, and we're going to go the opposite side. And leave the center with no lines in it, and that kind of adds to the illusion that the lip is coming out. And now we're going to do the same thing to the top. Pull the lines to a curve up on one side and leave the center. And there we have our little lips. Okay. So for the eyes, we are going to, okay, put some irises in. So with the irises, what you don't want to do, let me show you really quick what you don't want to do. You don't want to okay, let me just draw a little eye. Let me do two. So we'll do what we want to do and what we don't want to do. We don't want to just put a circle in the center with another circle in it. That makes your person look paranoid and like, whoa, they're in shock. So you need to decide where your person is looking. Are they looking at you? You still don't do it like this. But if they're looking at you, you will do a circle on top and another circle inside, and then that will be erased. And that makes them look like they're so that would be the center, but you can also do it to the side. And another thing, we have two eyes. So we don't want one in the center, one to the left. I mean, you can totally do that, but it makes your portrait look a little awkward. So we're going to have her looking at us. So I'm going to take my circles and see how I gently do them. And they're both a little bit out of her eye range. And then that can just be erased. Okay. And then we're going to put the iris or the pupil, I'm sorry, right in the center. Work on this eyebrow a little bit more. And that's a nice thing about drawing too, is like you can just go. So you don't want to focus too much, or for me, I'm the kind of person that I don't like to focus on one thing too much because I don't want to mess it up. So I jump around. I like to jump around, so I give everything a little bit of time too. So I'm gonna take her eye, and now we're going to go in with a very deep line because I know we want to keep this line, and also the lash line is really dark. So I'm also going to take this mechanical pencil. It gives you a good deep dark line. That's her lash line. All right, now let's just color the whole iris in, including the pupil. It can all go to a nice gray color shade. And now we're going to go in and do a darken the line around the iris. It's going to make the eye pop a little bit more. And then go back into the pupil. And we're going to make that completely black. Oop. No. Okay. Okay. Now we've got some nice eyes coming through. All right. Let's take our pencil and we're going to do a little bit more shading around the eye. So I'm going to take up here and have this pull in. Just to give her face a little bit of definition. And maybe I'll pull this up. Let's give her a little definition to an eyelid, like illusion of an eyelid. So I'm going to come up from the outside of the eyes and go in. So for this one, this way, for this one, this way. Go in with some strokes just on the outside of the eye. And we'll give her a little eyelid that way. We'll come down here and put more shading around her nose because it's coming out and it would recreate more shadows going that way. All right, the same thing around here. Let's give her some high cheekbones. Let's pull down some shadows around here. And just where her lips are, pull them down very faintly. And then back down this way. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and fill in her hair with a fast sketch. See, I'm just sketching in her hair because I want her hair to be a darker color. If you wanted it to be lighter, you probably wouldn't do this. You would just go in and sketch some lines in the way you want her hair to come down. And basically it's just depths of lines. Like if it's in the back, we know it's going to be way darker. So around the neck, you may want to give her just some good shadow, and then So where there's some dark lines and then a lot of light lines. And you just want to work with the shape that you already put out. And then you can even take some from the face and pull down. Okay, so up here I'm going to pull them back behind that little headband I put on my person. And I'm going to go around her forehead now that I have those lines. And again, just like we did these curves, I'm going to come up and do some curved lines because that's going to make her hairline look a little bit more realistic, like there's actual hair coming out of there. See if we turn it around. And then we want to finish those lines to the back. We're going with the same flow. One line leads to another. Okay, and you can see how just the shadows really start to play and make it look so much better. So the more shadowing, the more detail you put into it, the better your creation is going to be. And when you go in these darker places you want to make sure that it gets dark, because when you have the dark lines, it makes everything else pop, 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 pop. It adds the dimension for you. And that'll muddle it down, but then you're going to go back in with a nice sharp pencil. And we're going to go back in and redo just some nice fine lines. I'm going to do some lines from the iris, or from the pupil out to the end of the iris. That gives that a little bit more definition, I think you can tell. And then also pull up, and we're going to give her some nice eyelashes. And then on the bottom, I'm going to do a very fine line around the eye, and that's where I'm going to put her bottom lashes. And let me do that over here too. Okay. All right, let me finish this side. And we're going to come back. Ew. If you smudge around your painting, go ahead and erase that too. You don't want smudges around your paint or your drawing, excuse me. I do it the whole time I'm drawing, but then at the end of it, I really take a nice big eraser and erase all the stuff that I want to be nice and crisp white, because it does add to your composition. Okay. All right. Let's come. Okay. Now you can go in and there we go. I'm making the back darker. So we ended up leaving her ears out, which is cool since we put all that into them. Okay, so basically she's done. We're going to come down and we'll put her a little collar on her shirt. And you could add some details like some stitching around her sleeve. Little details are really what's going to make your work pop. I'm going to put a shadow underneath her arm. Use my little smudger. And really, we've made our portrait. So what I can do, since we have some more time, is we can work individually on something like drawing an eye. So let's do a big eye. Or you can just look at this and use this for the portrait. So I'm going to make that lemon shape or almond shape. And we know from before that when we're doing the iris, that we don't want to put the circle inside the eye and just let it be the circle. We want to let it come out a little. And then our pupil. And I'm going to go ahead and fill the pupil in completely. I'm going to leave a little upside down teardrop almost in the pupil, but that's going to be its reflection. It's almost like a light reflection. Okay. So there's our little reflection, which means that when I go back and do the lines of the iris, I'm actually going to make this section pretty light. So I'm going to put these 2 lines here to remind me that when I go in, I'm going to just do very faint lines, because it's also, obviously, if the light's hitting it and I have a reflection in my pupil, there will be a reflection in my iris. I'm going to go ahead and make some of these lines pretty dark. So the top one, I'm coming and I'm going to pull that in and come back up. And then on our, we're going to do these little, our little pink part of our eye, and do that in a light gray, and then this side. Okay. So now we're going to go back and focus on the iris. I'm going to do a line here, and I can just drag the pencil down. It's going to be here and here. And through there, I'm going to use that as kind of a guide. I'm going to go back in almost like I'm drawing petals on a flower. And so I'm going to start here, go out, loop back in, and let it touch itself again. And I'm going to do it again and again. This is going to be the little folds that you see in your eye. So on the parts that I can't go in loop, I'm just doing lines. But I'm using these lines as a guideline, so I know where my lines are going. See, because I can't loop it, so I'm not going to loop that one, not going to do that one, but this one I can loop back in. This one. Okay. Once you get good at it, you can do multiple ones. Boop, boop. So it doesn't have to be all. Okay. Okay, but here we stop because we are going to put lines in that, but they're going to be very faint, so we'll do those at the end. Now I'm going to go back in, and in those places where it loops in, I'm going to fill it in with very dark shade of the gray, just at the end. Okay. And this is a nice thing to do also, just the eye. I wouldn't start with the portrait, but the eye, definitely you can pull out your colored pencils and really play around and get some fun stuff too with some eye colors by doing this part one color, the the shading at the bottom a completely different color, and then go back in and filling it in with another color. Man, you could come up with some great ideas. Okay, so I'm going to turn my paper. And as you can see, me doing that also reinforces that iris line. I'm going to take these out. There. Okay, so when I come up closer to here, I'm going to not do it so dark. We're going to start getting lighter with that, and we can go ahead and still go there with our light, light, light. And then just some flicks going in that direction, but we're not actually doing the whole pull thing. We just want to flick it where you can kind of see where it would be. All right, let me get this pupil nice and shade it all the way. There we go. All right, and I'm going to pull out this bottom. So here we go. Now I'm going to take this and we're going to come back like we did on our portrait. And that will be kind of the beginning of our little eyelid. And if you want to, you can come around and do some there. See our eyelids there. And we're going to pull down here. And you can just keep playing around with the shape until you get it the way you want to. You could even, like, look, we could add her a little cat eye out there. She's about to put on some makeup. We can make this fat thicker and pull that all the way to the edge, and there's her eyeliner. Okay, so I'm also going to go back in around the eye and kind of just do a little shading back and forth. Not there. And you almost want to kind of put a glint. We can put a couple of glints in the eye. And that's kind of shapes in the white part that just makes it look like it's kind of gleaming. And now we're ready to pull out some eyelashes. You don't want to just go straight up. If you want some straight ones, right here would be the only place. And then you want to follow it back with the shapes. So one way curve, two straight, to the other way curve. And then go back in and layer it up. So there's that. Let's see, we have this person that we finished. Earlier today, I was working on this person, and so like I say, like with this shape, you could definitely change it up and make almost any type shape of face. Or if we wanted some different hair, she could have a short hair. So this is something as you do it. Oops, well, I just pulled her out some long hair, but let's keep her short hair. This is something you can do over and over. Once you know the main formula, you can do it over and over and over again. So I hope that you guys have fun playing around with this, and I hope to see you guys next time.